There's some huge fixtures coming up in match week 21. This is another edition of Premier League predictions. This week I'll be taking on Lee the Dorset Spur, Tottenham YouTuber.
Chris Cowlin. Fan cams. Club news. Transfer news. Match previews. Legend interviews. Spurs winning. Press conferences, covering everything Tottenham and England.
Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all keeping well. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. This is another edition of Premier League predictions. It is week 21 in the Premier League. And this week I'll be taking on Lee the Dorset Spur, of course, Tottenham YouTuber. So we'll get into that shortly. But last week, the results weren't good for me. I tell you what, I was 23-22 up. And Gareth McGuinness, of course, last week's guest, he got 2 correct scores and 5 correct results. I think that is the record so far on the channel so far this season. I only got 1 correct score and 4 correct results. So that gave me a points total last week of 13 points, a points total for the guest of 20. I am now losing 42-36. So I've got to perform this week. So match week 21, these are the 10 fixtures. Burnley against Luton, Chelsea against Fulham, Newcastle against champions Manchester City, Everton against Villa, Manchester United against Spurs, Arsenal against Palace, Brentford take on Forest, Sheffield United v West Ham, Bournemouth take on Liverpool, and Brighton against Wolves. Let's start with Burnley against Luton. Both teams, of course, are in the bottom 3. Luton have only won 4 games. Burnley have only won 3 games. This is going to be a scrappy affair, in my opinion. I think it's got a draw written all over it. I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Burnley versus Luton. A real battle at the bottom. The ultimate 6-pointer. Both teams not in great form. Both teams right down the bottom. So, for me, I think this is going to be something that neither of them really want. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Next one, Chelsea against Fulham at Stamford Bridge. Of course, this is a derby, West London derby. Chelsea are sat in 10th at the moment. Fulham are in 13th. Pochettino's trying his best, of course, at Stamford Bridge. Not really getting a lot out of his team at the moment. Of course, he's just lost the first leg of the semi-final in the Carabao Cup. They've spent so much money. I've no idea how to call this one. Chelsea against Fulham. Fulham have had some good results, but then again, they've had some bad results. Very inconsistent again. Both teams are very inconsistent. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a Fulham 2-1 win.
West London derby. Chelsea versus Fulham. Bit of a mid-table battle going on here. No love lost between those two sides. I can see Chelsea just edging this. Only because I think Fulham have had a difficult week, having just gone out of the Carabao Cup. So for me, I think Chelsea just edges it 2-1.
Newcastle against the champions Manchester City. Newcastle are down in 9th place in the Premier League table right now, 11 points away from the top 4. They've been very inconsistent. They've won 9, they've lost 9, they've drawn 2. They've had a lot of injuries. Manchester City, I expect them to win this game. They are only 5 points away from top spot. They've got a game in hand, and I expect them now to go on a run. Although Erling Haaland is injured, I think, for most of January, or indeed the next couple of weeks. But they do have a lot of quality. I expect Manchester City to go to Newcastle. I know Newcastle is a very difficult place to go. The fans really get behind the team. But I expect Manchester City to nick this one. I'm going to go for a 1-0 City win.
Newcastle versus Manchester City. Well, poor old Newcastle going through a very, very difficult time. It's not coming together for them, and their manager is on the ropes. So even with Man City having probably their worst start for a little while, they still sit 3rd in the Premier League. So I can't see anything other than a victory for Man City. So for me, I'm going to go with a 0-2 win to Manchester City.
Everton against Aston Villa. I'm actually expecting an Aston Villa win here, although Everton have grinded out some great results. And of course, they've got their 10 points deduction. They are sitting just above the relegation zone. Aston Villa have been very, very impressive. 20 games played, 13-1. They're sat in second place right now, only 3 points away from league leaders Liverpool. I expect Aston Villa to go there to Goodison Park, win this one 3-1.
Everton versus Aston Villa. I think this could be a good game. Aston Villa doing really, really well under Unai Emery, who is really showing his abilities. But to be fair to Everton, after their 10-point deduction, they've gone on a really good run and started to really pull them points together. And without that, they would be right up there, somewhere around sort of 8th or 9th, I guess. So, I think this could be a good game. And I'm thinking it's going to be a Desmond 2-2.
Manchester United v Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, Spurs are on a high at the moment. We've just signed 2 new players, Werner and Dragushin. Spurs fans at the moment are very, very excited. We've played some super entertaining football so far. We're only 6 points away from top spot. Manchester United, very, very inconsistent this season. They are sat in 8th at the moment. They've only drawn 1 game, which of course was 0-0 away at Liverpool, which most of their fans celebrated. They've won 10, they've lost 9, very inconsistent. They've had a lot of injuries as well. They've got players coming back. But I think Spurs are on a high right now. I expect Spurs to go to Old Trafford and get the win. We've only won there 4 times at Old Trafford in Premier League history, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a 5th. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win. Werner to get the winner.
The big one, Manchester United versus Tottenham. Man United in really poor form, having a terrible season this season, which is great news. Tottenham in really good form, having won the last 3. A couple of new signings coming through the door, so the feel-good factor is definitely back. So for me, I think this will be a high-scoring game. I don't think it will be an easy one for us. I'm going to go with a 2-3 Tottenham win.
Arsenal against Crystal Palace. Palace are down in 14th right now. Arsenal are sat in 4th. Arsenal have had a dreadful run of games recently. I do expect them, sadly, to bounce back and win this game at the Emirates. Obviously wishing for a Palace win, but sadly, I think that Arsenal win this one 2-0.
Arsenal, Crystal Palace. I might be a little bit biased on this one. I can't see anything other than a Crystal Palace absolutely smashing them. I think I'm going to go for a 0-5 to Crystal Palace. No, that's not going to happen. In my dreams, I think this is going to be an easy win for Arsenal at home, and I think they're going to win 2-0.
Now, Brentford against Forest. This one's going to be an interesting one. Brentford are down in 16th. We're so used to seeing them in the top half of the Premier League table, certainly since Thomas Frank has brought them into the Premier League, which has done a wonderful job. Forest are down in 15th. Of course, only a couple of weeks ago, Nuno Espirito Santo come in, got a great win away at Newcastle. A real statement win, if you like, for the fans, with Nuno Espirito Santo coming in. Forest and Brentford, they've only won 5 games apiece all season in the Premier League. I think this game has got a draw written all over it. 2-2.
Brentford versus Nottingham Forest. Don't think I'd want to be either of these fans at the moment. Both are in absolute terrible form, with Brentford losing 5 of their last 5 games. For me, I think this is going to be a result that neither of team we're going to want. I think this is going to be a 0-0 ball draw.
Sheffield United against West Ham. I do expect West Ham to go to Bramall Lane and win this game. Sheffield United have only won 2 games out of 20 during this Premier League campaign. West Ham are sat in 6th place, 6 points away from the top 4. And they're competing in the Europa League as well. So, you know, David Moyes had a lot of criticism from Hammers fans earlier on this season, but he's doing a fairly decent job there. At West Ham. I expect West Ham to go there and win the game 2-0.
Sheffield United versus West Ham. Sheffield United rooted right at the bottom of the Premier League, having a really terrible season. West Ham flying high up at 6th. I can't see this going any other way than a 0-2 win to West Ham.
Bournemouth against Liverpool. Of course, Liverpool are the league leaders right now, and Bournemouth are in 12th spot. Bournemouth have been on a great run of results. Of course, they are at home, but Liverpool have only lost one game in this whole Premier League campaign, and of course, that was against Spurs, and that was when Luis Diaz's goal should have stood, and VAR made that huge mistake. So Liverpool, in my opinion, I think there is so much more to come from them. Are they title contenders? Absolutely. They're sat top of the league right now. They've only lost one, as I've just said. And I expect more to come from Liverpool. I'm expecting Liverpool to go to Bournemouth, win this game comfortably, 2-0.
Local derby, AFC Bournemouth versus Liverpool, given the amount of Scousers that are down on the south coast here. I think this is going to be a really entertaining game. Liverpool obviously playing midweek in the Carabao Cup and getting that late win. So I think they're going to be really up for it and flying. But I think Bournemouth are having a really good season so far. And I can see them scoring a few. So for me, I think I'm going to go for something like a 3-3 thrilling draw.
Last fixture of match week 21, Brighton take on Wolves. Brighton are currently 7th. Wolves are in 11th spot. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brighton win. Brighton were very impressive, actually, when we played them a couple of weeks ago on the 28th of December. Of course, they beat us 4-2. I love De Zerbi's style. He seems to, or the club seem to sell so many of their good players, but they seem to replace them. The recruitment is excellent, but the style of football De Zerbi plays is absolutely unreal. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Brighton win.
Brighton versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Bit of a tough one to call because Brighton have been doing really well at the beginning of the season and kind of going through a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. Wolves, on the other hand, doing really, really well. So I think this is going to be a difficult one to call. But you know what? I'm going to go for a 1-2 Wolves win.
So many thanks to Lee from Lee the Dorset Spur YouTube channel. Of course, Lee is a big Tottenham Hotspur fan, goes to every single home game and follows the club with passion. Of course, things are pretty good for Spurs right now, but Lee does react to every single result and every single game, so do check out the channel. So thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do put your score predictions in the comments section below if you're watching on YouTube. Also subscribe and share this video. And if you listen to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy match week 21 and we will see you on another edition very soon. Come on, you Spurs.